Corrupted by All-Black the Necrosword, Gorr the God Butcher is one of the strongest villains that we've seen in the MCU.
What was that?
But what about some of the villains that are even stronger?
Come on.
Here are 20 villains more powerful than Gorr. The first entry on our list belongs to the original Herald of Galactus, known as the Fallen One.
Oh, that is cool.
And don't worry, we will talk more about Galactus a little later on. Unlike every other herald that came after him, the Fallen One was not imbued with the power cosmic, rather, he was endowed with dark energy, which turned him into a cruel and evil entity. Fallen One went as far as to even capture and imprison Galactus himself. Although Fallen One has never been able to defeat Galactus, he has fought alongside Thanos and other evil forces, and one can't imagine the likes of the Fallen One or Silver Surfer would be able to take Gorr the God Butcher out in a fight.
This is going to...
With the MCU going more cosmic and multiversal than ever, do you think that we'll see the Fallen One or heck even Silver Surfer during phases 5 or 6? Let us know in the comments. Speaking of Galactus's heralds, with every yin, there's a yang. With light comes darkness, and with good comes evil. So what is the opposite of the Silver Surfer and the power cosmic? And the answer is Ravenous, and the power he garners from the negative zone, which he refers to as opposing force. The right-hand man of Annihilus and member of the Annihilation Wave, which we will also talk about later on in our video. Ravenous has been sent to hunt down heralds across the universe and has been successful in doing so for the most part. The mighty and cosmic Ravenous has even defeated multiple Avengers throughout his brief comics history. Coincidentally enough, the negative zone is also where the Fantastic Four received their powers. And with Marvel's first family finally having their own movie coming out in Phase 6, could we see Ravenous and the Annihilation Wave inside of the MCU? Terrax the Tamer, or Tyros for short, was originally a dictator of a small city before Galactus came along and turned him into, yep, you guessed it, another one of his cosmic heralds.
Terrax the Tamer, not good.
On top of loving power and leading a life of violence and debauchery, Tyros even possesses a mutation that allows him to animate stone constructs, effectively being able to create structures or living beings out of rock. Furthermore, once Galactus empowered Terrax, the Tamer realized his true abilities and became capable of manipulating any terrain he touches. Oh yeah, and did I mention his cosmic battle axe? It would seem as though Tyros is powerful enough to take out most of the Avengers one-on-one, whereas it only took Thor to ultimately defeat Gorr, so for that reason, Terrax the Tamer gets the nod. Surely, once Galactus is revealed in the MCU, he'll need some ground-level villains to fight against Silver Surfer and the Avengers, right? Well, perhaps Tyros and Ravenous could be those characters. Grom, aka Overmind, was born and eternal on the planet Eyoung and is a gladiator who has claimed to have conquered 100 worlds, won 1,000 fights, and massacred entire species. Beyond just brawn, Grom is also busty with brains, becoming known as the Overmind after a scientific experiment gave him the psionic power of 1 billion brains wrapped into one. Due to this experimentation, Overmind's psychic abilities are nearly unparalleled. Not only would Grom defeat Gorr as he is the ultimate physical specimen of his race, his intellect makes him far superior to, well, most supervillains that we've met in the MCU up until this point. Plus, Eternals are cut from the same ilk as Celestials, who are incredibly OP. We all know about the Mad Titan Thanos and his conquest for both the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet, as well as his urge to snap away half of all life in the universe. And we all know how well that ultimately worked out for him in the end. That being said, Thanos is without question one of the most feared and revered supervillains in all of Marvel history. An incredibly powerful galactic warrior who has studied the universe to a level unachievable by very few others, if any at all.
You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
Thanos is an incredibly formidable foe for anybody who dares to cross his path. And just because the Mad Titan was gone before the God Butcher showed up, that doesn't mean Gorr would beat Thanos in a fight. As mentioned in our previous entry, Gorr wasn't capable of defeating Thor when they shot the fair one, as the kids would say today, whereas Thanos has been able to battle with all of the Avengers at once on multiple occasions. He's traded punches with the Hulk and deflected energy blasts back at the likes of Captain Marvel, just to name a few feats. And thus, Thanos remains one of the toughest baddies in MCU history.
I am inevitable.
Kang the Conqueror is, much like Thanos was, the overarching bad guy of the MCU through phases 4, 5, and some of 6. Kang has taken on many identities and incarnations throughout his time and space and across the multiverse, which we have also seen exemplified in the MCU during the Loki series, where he met He Who Remains, one of Kang's variants.
He Who Remains. She still calling me that? Creepy.
Who also explained Nathaniel Richards and the impending threat of himself, I guess. I know, it can all seem fairly confusing, but Kang has an ever-expanding history and is not only a super brilliant engineer and scientist, but he's also a tried-and-true combatant and warrior. Using his inventions, contraptions, and virtually indestructible armor, Kang the Conqueror can fend off multiple Avengers at once with ease, and even has an army of Kang duplicates from across the cosmos. My bold MCU prediction? Even though Kang is a villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, we will surely see him again come Avengers, Kang's Dynasty, and by the end of Avengers Secret Wars, all of the superheroes will defeat the Kang army, only for the Conqueror to be reincarnated as the hero called Iron Lad, who will go on to lead the new Avengers. Known as the Destroyer or Lord of Oblivion, Cyttorak is an immensely powerful, extra-dimensional being and member of the Octessence, who is responsible for creating the Crimson Gem. The Octessence is a group of 8 rivaling cosmic entities who created gems and spread them across the Earth and the universe. Whoever finds one of these gems becomes a totem or an avatar, embodying the powers of the corresponding entity. The first one found was the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak, which empowered Cain Marko, transforming him into the infamous Juggernaut. With the Juggernaut representing a fraction of a fragment of Cyttorak's true power, this deity is more than your average god and possesses enormous magical powers. Knowing that Deadpool and the other X-Men are headed for the MCU very soon, is it possible that the history between Cyttorak and the Juggernaut ever plays out on screen? Imprisoned in the underworld for all of eternity, Amatsu Mikaboshi is the god of evil, chaos, and the stars in Japanese culture. A primordial being known as the Chaos King, Mikaboshi was originally an offshoot of Oblivion, the cosmic embodiment of the void that existed before the universe began. Simple enough, right? For context, Oblivion is a counterpart to Eternity, who we saw recently during Thor: Love and Thunder, so the Chaos King is a more evil and, well, chaotic version of that. As a matter of fact, Amatsu Mikaboshi was also portrayed as a member of the Council of the Godheads, an omnipotent city during the same film, but that's neither here nor there. Chaos King has shown the ability to not only vanquish gods, but he's also enslaved them as well, proving his power level greater than most. Now, there's not much to say about the next entry on our list, as Diableri has only made one appearance in all of Marvel Comics. So why is he on this list? Well, because he is, or was, seeing as he is currently deceased, a very powerful being, which the next 2 entries will elaborate on. One of the Promeal gods, Diableri of Chaos has god-level powers with strength rivaling some of the strongest cosmic and divine beings in the universe. Unfortunately for the big blue baddie, the Promeals felt as though Diableri's duties were no longer needed and cast him away. He would ultimately meet his demise at the hands of Galactus, but so would like 98% of Marvel characters if they fought the World Eater, so that's an L that Diableri should never be ashamed to hold. The second of 3 Promeal gods on our list, Aegis, was corrupted by her constituent, Diableri of Chaos, and turned against her fellow deities. Capable of fighting with both the Silver Surfer and Galactus at the same time, Aegis would ultimately be defeated by her aforementioned foes. but not before transmitting what knowledge she possessed on to Nova. With her ability to harness and control unfathomable amounts of cosmic energy, Aegis became known as the Lady of Sorrows after turning evil at the behest of Diableri. Although she outlasted a few of the other Promeals in an epic battle over the course of the universe, Aegis did meet her demise, unlike another one of her peers and the next entry on our list. The final Promeal god on our list, Tenebrous, is definitely the most physically intimidating deity of the bunch, tasked with shaping the universe into what it would become, as well as being placed in charge of the black, that's the living matter that binds everything together. Tenebrous was corrupted by Diableri and sent to war against Galactus. See, the Promeal gods were the very first organisms created after the Big Bang, with 2 of the 5 Promeal gods staying babyface and the aforementioned demises of both Diableri and Aegis. Tenebrous would be the only one of his cosmic siblings turned heel to survive the war with Galactus and the Celestials. Tenebrous's whereabouts are currently unknown, and whether or not he is still a good or bad guy is still also not known, and maybe we will never know. You know, come to think of it, is anybody else interested in seeing the Promeal gods and the Celestials throw down? In Eternals too? Knull is the eldritch god of darkness, and the creator of the extraterrestrial lifeforms known as symbiotes, with Venom being the most famous of his creatures. Furthermore, Knull literally spawned the weapon that empowers Gorr the God Butcher called All-Black the Necrosword, which was the first symbiote-like entity ever created. The All-Black corrupts its wielder and draws from their life force, killing them the longer they use the blade. Although it was not explicitly stated in the MCU, it was implied that Gorr's Necrosword and shadow creatures were of symbiotic descent. Furthermore, Hela's Nightsword seen during Thor Ragnarok was birthed of the same method. In fact, in the comics, and presumably in the MCU, there are a plethora of Necroswords scattered across the universe. Of course, Knull is the source of Gorr's power, and therefore trumps him in any battle. Knull is so powerful, he once infected multiple Celestials with symbiotes. With Venom already crossing over into the MCU during Spider-Man No Way Home, could Knull be next? Mephisto is an extra-dimensional demon who rules a fiery pocket dimension called Hades. Alright, he's not technically the devil per se, as other characters in the comics use names like Lucifer and the One Below All, and it's hard to tell who the Christian interpretation of Satan from the Bible is in the Marvel universe, if he even exists at all. However, that doesn't stop Mephisto from tricking humans into believing he is the ruler of the underworld, and in essence he pretty much is. Mysticism and enchantment seem to be more effective in battle against Mephisto than the slashing and dashing style of Gorr the God Butcher, and therefore, the demon takes the W in that bout too. Mephisto is rumored to finally appear in the upcoming Ironheart series set inside of the MCU, and I pray to the Lord that we see him by Phase 5. The Magus of Earth 7528 is an evil and sometimes child version of Adam Warlock from an alternate future. Warlock was created by an elite group of researchers dedicated to creating the perfect human being at the pinnacle of human evolution. Basically, the Magus and Adam Warlock both possess flight, super strength, quantum magic, and sorcery powers, to name very few of plenty. Magus not only aligned with Thanos, but was heavily involved in the Infinity Wars of the comics, even wielding the power of the Infinity Gauntlet at one point himself. He has shown some good during his time of weakness by teaming up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but at the end of the day, villain's gonna villain, you know? Speaking of which, keep an eye out for Adam Warlock and possibly the Magus during Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. A cosmic being that consumes energy found in planets for sustenance, Galactus was originally a humanoid called Galen, who merged with the sentience of the cosmos, transforming into a literal world eater in the process. As mentioned multiple times throughout our list, Galactus locates suitable candidates from across the universe to become his heralds, endowing them with the power cosmic and sometimes dark energy. Rumored to be joining the MCU for years now, it seems as though the further Marvel Studios explores the vastness of the universe and space, that the likelihood of Galactus appearing sooner rather than later increases greatly. I personally don't care how they bring him into the movies, just as long as he's not a big space tornado like he was in that Rise of the Silver Surfer movie, just no. Sticking with supervillains heavily involved in Fantastic Four lore, ruling over the negative zone where Marvel's first family also get their powers, Annihilus is the next entry on our list. A tyrannical insectoid conqueror, Annihilus the Annihilator possesses a variety of your typical superhuman abilities as a result of prolonged exposure to the cosmic control rod. On top of your standard super strength, speed, stamina, and the whole works, what sets Annihilus apart from most of the other characters on our list is his contentious rebirth factor. No matter how many times you kill this guy, Annihilus will be resurrected again and again for all of eternity. Life after death is definitely not a factor for Gorr, and because of this, Annihilus makes the cut. The main antagonist of the first Doctor Strange film, Dormammu was never really defeated, and it's not clear that he ever really could be.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Ruler over the Dark Dimension, Dormammu is a cosmic entity with mystical and supernatural properties. He poses a threat to not only the world, but the entire universe. As mentioned previously, the Sorcerer Supreme was unable to actually vanquish Dormammu when the Dark Lord threatened Earth. Rather, Strange cast an enchantment trapping both of them in a time loop. Dormammu would agree to leave Earth for now in order to settle his annoyance. However, if at any point in time he chose to, Dormammu could once again become one of the biggest threats in the entire MCU. An extremely powerful person, often described of as one if not the most powerful beings in the multiverse, Owen Reese is the Molecule Man. A lowly technician, Reese thought that he had accidentally poked a pinhole into the universe of the Beyonder while fixing an atomic device. In reality, the Beyonders were behind Reese's transformation into the Molecule Man, empowering him as some sort of weapon that could be used to destroy the universe. Perhaps these are themes that could be used in the MCU, as incursion events and the multiverse. Oh, it's the talk of the town right now. Given Reese's powers that not only render him nigh omnipotent, but also enable him to manipulate matter at the molecular level. And yeah, Molecule Man pretty much washes every MCU baddie that we've ever seen to date. Yet another computer technician turned virtual god among men, Michael Korvac is the most hard-body and powerful supervillain in all of Marvel that you've probably never heard about. Originally from Earth 691, Korvac was a traitor to the race, aligning himself with the alien Brotherhood of Baldoon, who would enslave the planet Earth. In exchange, the Brotherhood would build Korvac his own supercomputer, effectively enhancing Michael's physiology into that of a cyborg. Korvac was able to download several powers into his systems, including those of the likes of the Grandmaster and Galactus, which also gave him the power Cosmic. Using his new powers, Korvac would defeat both the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers. To end the madness, Korvac simply blinked himself out of existence, restoring all of the lives that he previously destroyed. The final entry on our list belongs to the man who is mostly responsible for the creation of Battleworld and the events of Secret Wars. Coincidentally enough, Avengers Secret Wars is slated for Phase 6, and the Beyonder will more than likely be revealed as a puppet master of sorts, manipulating superheroes and villains behind the scenes. A childlike and curious being, the Beyonder has the ability to manipulate reality in its entirety, and is considered the utmost powerful character in all of Marvel, surpassing cosmic entities as great as eternity. The Beyonder could not only destroy all of Earth's heroes and villains on his own, let alone with the aid of the rest of the Beyonder's race, but he could and will play with these supers like toys, meaning Gorr would never stand a chance. And that's our list. What did you think of the list? Do you want to add to the list? Make a comment about the list? Do you have criticism of the list? You can do all that in the comments below, and make sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you don't miss a thing. See ya!